Watching Nile Cruise, many people may know the story of the flight of the Holy Family to Egypt, but very few have had the chance to follow their steps. Many Egyptian and international tour operators offer what is commonly called as the Holy Family Tour. Depending on the duration, such a tour will take you to the places believed to have been visited by the Holy Virgin and her son on their way through Egypt. Ibrahim Mahlab's government underscored the Egyptian Christian identity in a bid to relaunch the Egyptian religious tourism. He called for the promotion of the itineraries linked to the presence of the Holy Family in the country. It was the first time that the Egyptian authorities decided to promote the itineraries linked to the Egyptian Christian routes and in particular to the Holy Family's flight into Egypt. And to be speaking more about this of the Holy Family visit and flight to Egypt, we have Mr. Karim Membawy, the member of the Tourism Chambers Federation. Mr. Karim, thank you very much for being with us today on Nile Cruise.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Mr. Karim. Let me just start off with a question into the topic. As we have Alexandria, the church in Alexandria being the oldest in Egypt, the first pope was in Egypt. Why aren't we utilizing this in terms, and we have now, as Ahmed was mentioning, the voyage of the Holy Family. Why aren't we utilizing this in terms of religious tourism? Like you have, of course, the Hajj and Umrah in Saudi Arabia. We have in Rome, the Vatican and St. Paul's Cathedral. Why aren't we actually utilizing all of this now?
Well, I would say that the statement should be actually corrected. It hasn't been utilized as much as it should.
Exactly.
But it is
yes.
actually
utilized
as much as it should. Because, in fact, when you address the religious tourism, you're addressing a segment of the tourism. We have the whole tourism. 100% of tourism are split between leisure, which is mainly the bath vacation resorts and so on. Then you have the culture, of course, and we have major part of it. And then we have the other segmentation, which is mainly, I would say, specialized tourism. So not only religious, you have
medical at the moment that's starting off, and
the special interest, the bird watching, and name it. Religious worldwide doesn't occupy a big percentage.
Out of all the
it
tourism
doesn't occupy,
in the world,
I mean,
sort of what percentage are we talking about?
WTO has mentioned this year for 2014, they came out with a report that so far the leisure, which is mainly the bath vacations, are more or less utilized, if I'm not mistaken, over 75%.
So that doesn't leave much for the rest of the other
is split between culture. Of course, culture, I mean, occupies a biggest chunk of it as well, and the rest is left for the, I would say, the specialized or the special interest. We call it in the field, the right terminology, the special interest, which is the bird watching, religious, so. We have some source and nationalities, like for instance the Asian, specifically the Korean. They do come in for religious program, but they don't very little of them, very few of them would actually touch Alexandria. They mainly do the part of Sinai and St. Catherine. Why? Because when they come from such a long distance, they tend to combine, to see as much as possible. So they combine this with the other side of, I mean, they combine Sinai with some of our neighbors as well. So it's like a 3 countries tour. So St. Catherine is the closest. They do this with a bus. So St. Catherine is the closest. To go to Alexandria, it needs a very long way to drive, or to stop in Sharm el-Sheikh and then fly again. Mostly the people who come for religious tours or the religious program, they are mostly, I would say, on a budget program. So they don't have the luxury of spending more time, so that they would I mean, from St. Catherine or Sinai, it would take them at least another 2 nights in order to include Alexandria, or it will, to make it shorter, you'll talk about another $500 to take to stop in Sharm, take a flight, not actually to Sharm, that will mostly be because we don't have Sharm Alexandria on daily basis, then we'll stop in Cairo, drive again in Cairo. So logistically it's
quite
not
a hassle.
much. But let me tell you the good news. The good news is, well, I'm proud to be part of the consulting board of the Ministry of Tourism that has been launched recently. What we are trying now to do is to open new gates for tourism. And this is actually what you're mentioning is one of the new gates. What we are doing now is trying to come up with Jordan, which has a big part of the Holy Family as well, and come up with Jordan, and this is a protocol that we are hopefully signing with Jordan shortly, is to come up with a joint program that would actually promote the religious tourism in both countries. So that's, and we're coming up with specific program that will facilitate. This hasn't been promoted before, I have to say. So one, it's still visited, but still it's weak. It's also, we have to carry part of the mistake that we haven't promoted it as much, knowing that it doesn't occupy a big chunk of the travelers. So we went first to the leisure tourism, which is more about Sharm and Hurghada, then into the culture, which is also, which is very important for us. This hasn't actually taken lots of our efforts, so that's what we are addressing now. And knowing that, again, those coming from long haul, when you say long haul, so it's more or less 6-7 flights plus, would tend to combine, and they will be interested to combine more than one destination, and this is why we're coming up with Jordan, but taking consideration that combining it with Jordan, our pluses we're trying to promote as well that you are actually combining two wonders of the world in the same trip, because in this case you're going to see the pyramid as well as Petra, which has been also nominated as one of the top 10 wonder of the world. So it's coming soon.
Yes, Mr. Karim, if we can focus on the flight of the Holy Family, or the voyage of the Holy Family through to Egypt, why did they flee to Egypt in the first place, historically?
That's now you're addressing quite
very specific point.
You mean that why don't they start first in Egypt and then? But I'm telling you, it was a weak side from our side a long time ago. We didn't promote it as much. The other people, our neighbors, promoted it first. Why? Because they don't have much to promote otherwise. I mean, Jordan or else, I mean, there are very few. I mean, Jordan just had Petra shortly. Jordan had always Dead Sea, but they didn't have infrastructure into the Dead Sea. They only came out with the infrastructure of Dead Sea also shortly. So their main interest and their main attraction was the Holy Land and the religious side. So that's why interest was also to promote our investment into the Red Sea, in Sinai, and of course our heritage. So that's why
we have too many attractions to be focusing on one thing to be making it work.
But it's coming, because we realize now that we need everything. You know what? In the past, it has been, maybe it was more interesting to, when I say interesting, I don't want to be misunderstood that this is, the leisure is more interesting than the religious side, but more financially interesting and income and revenue interesting, more to tap on these two items, which are very important and uncompeting. Nobody else can compete from their side, while the religious was occupying very little. Now we learned the lesson that at the stage where we are now, in fact, the religious tourism is the one that will be cancelled least. Because at the end of the day, if you tell the Muslim people that anything is happening in Saudi Arabia, the weather is not fine, whatever, they will still go, because at the end of the day, it's not the pleasure of being there as much as the pleasure of being next to where they want to be, and it's much more. So it's religious will never actually nothing will affect your religious travel, while when it comes to tourism or leisure,
the beliefs.
Yes, exactly. So now we learned the lesson. Then the least actually that would actually affect the tourism, regardless what sort of problem you have within your territory, will be religious, will be the business, will be the investment, will be the special interest. In other words, the special interest. So, like diving, I mean, we still have the majority, and this hasn't been actually addressed. The majority of the people who came to Sharm el-Sheikh and to Hurghada over the period where we had the problem, the majority were divers. I want to go there. It's part of my belief, or when I say belief, it's part of my hobby, and I've been to here and there. Why not also going to Sharm el-Sheikh? So I mean, the problem you would have in the territory wouldn't affect much as you're sitting with your family where to go. Egypt, maybe not this year, let's go next year, and then you can tap to another destination, which is not the case when you address the specialized tourism.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Karim, also let me go back to the Russian tourists, where we have a bulk in Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh. Pope Tawadros II just visited Moscow last November. How can we actually attract the Russians to have as well be part of the religious package and do maybe follow the steps of the voyage of the Holy Family, as well as the package of the Red Sea that they're always there and go to.
Part of the thing that we were lacking is promotion material and organizing the sites as well. What we have started to do, I would say, over than 2 years ago, and I have to give some credit also to our ministry and the tourism authority, noticing the importance of the religious tourism, they've started to maintain and renovate the site, because some of the sites were not actually being able to be visited.